Hey guys, welcome to Rosie's Dessert Spot. In this tutorial I'll be teaching you how to make this extra tall cake decorated with an airbrush. I've got a 9-inch board, applying a little bit of buttercream and then applying my 5-inch cake, which I've baked in a 3-inch tall cake pan. Applying some of my buttercream to the center, some vanilla buttercream here. I'll have a link to the recipe in the description box below. Make sure it's nice and flat and then add on my next layer of cake. Now I've got 4 layers of cake here in total, it's a pretty tall one. Making sure to go around the cake so it's all nice and tall. When I'm convinced it's all straight, I'll put in 3 wooden dowels. The reason I'm doing that is to make sure that the cake doesn't start moving around while we're frosting, and it just makes it a lot more stable. Mark with an edible marker whereabouts that dowel is touching the cake, and then cut it a couple of millimeters below that line. Press it straight back in and make sure that it's resting underneath the cake just by a couple of millimeters. Do the same for all 3, push it right back in, and now we can start doing the crumb coat. So I'm pressing all that excess buttercream up against the cake, adding in some more buttercream, going around the whole cake and making sure that it's layered with a very thin layer of buttercream, catching all the crumbs. Do the same for the top. Cover any naked areas, and then go around the whole cake and just kneading it off. Bring the lip towards the center of the cake and pop it into the freezer for 10 minutes just to set up. And then go in with your final layer of frosting. Here I'm adding a healthy amount at the very top, pushing it out to the sides, and then layering on the buttercream at the top, at the bottom, and then I'll put through another layer right in the center again, and that just makes sure that it's all kind of nice and even, making sure that it's even at the beginning, that way we have less work to do when we're scraping it off. So I've used a super large scraper. It's actually a paint scraper, I think. I got it from a hardware store because it was much taller. Go around the whole cake, flatten it out, and then fill in any areas that are a little bit empty. Just make sure you haven't got any holes in your frosting. And go around until it's nice and smooth, and level off the top as well, just with your spatula. If you find that easier, you could use a bench scraper as well, but I always find it easier to use my spatula. Then again, we'll pop that into the freezer for 10 minutes just to set up. I've got some copy paper here and I've ripped it along the edge so it's nice and jagged, going in with my airbrush and aiming for the paper, so where the paper and the cake meet, that way it's just that line there that gets coloured. Go around the whole cake like that, kind of change it up so you have different jagged areas being impressed onto your cake, and it just looks a lot more interesting that way. Start at the bottom, move your way up to the top, change colours halfway through if you like. I went in with a little bit of purple as well, kind of overlaid it over the pink as you can see here. And it kind of reminds me of mountains and valleys. My sister kind of saw the ocean and petals. I think it's a bit different for everybody. But I saw little mountains. Going in with the pink again, and then going in finally with my yellow. And just kind of trying to catch those areas where there's a lot more white showing through, kind of going over there with my yellow. And don't forget to do the very top of your cake as well. Now for the top of the cake, I just stuck with yellow and then went in with a little bit of pink. Then shade in any pure white areas, go around the edge of your cake as well, kind of just darkening it a bit with the pink. And then next I got some melted white chocolate in a piping bag and just making little accents here out of chocolate to go onto the cake. They're kind of like petals. Make them as big or as small as you like. I think taller ones look really nice, so I'll try to make him a bit taller than usual. And then while it's still nice and melted, you could add in little edible beads. Add in some giant looking pearls on the side of the cake, just randomly, no particular order. You can leave that out completely if you like. And then once that chocolate has set, you can press it into the top of your cake. I left the shorter ones for the front and I used the taller shards for the back of the cake. And you can fill it all with shards if you like, but I put a little topper at the very front of the cake. Added in some extra shards at the very bottom just for interest. And you're done. Very easy. You make a super tall cake decorated with an airbrush and some chocolate shards. There's a couple of important things I should quickly mention before you go. It's the dowels that we put into the cake at the very beginning. Those are really important, not only to keep your cake stable as you're applying your buttercream and whatnot, because it is pretty tall, it's pretty fragile. It's also there so that over time your cake doesn't start to shift. It'll keep it nice and straight the whole way through. Another thing to mention is those cakes were cut really thick. Reason being, thicker cakes are a lot more stable under the weight of a tall cake. They won't split and they won't misshape. If you cut them all in half and then stacked 8 layers of cake, it's going to be a lot more fragile. So that's why I kept it all pretty thick. And that's it. That's the tutorial for today. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this cake. It was definitely really fun to make. So I hope you guys maybe replicate it. If you make something similar, do show me. I love seeing your creations, either like on email or if you have it on Instagram. Let me know. I'd love to see them. And I will catch you next time. Also, if you liked the little cake topper up here, I do sell those on my website, rosiesdessertspot.com.